Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nodelman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And that sound means it is once again time for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. I am Mike Nodelman.
I'm Aaron Berk.
And on today's episode, we break in our palatial new studios. I hope you like this. This is going to be where we're at. I really like them. They're cool. Let's see. We have all kinds of informational stuff today. We got a doofus. And we have auctions that just closed. So you want to talk about what just recently caught your eye, Aaron?
Yeah, let's get into it. So I noticed, guys, we're in the summer season right now, but at the moment, there is an auction coming up if you guys haven't noticed. We've talked about Noble Numismatics before. They are out of Australia, and this is their Numismatics, Noble Numismatics number 136. It's going to be July 30th, so just the end of the month, and that actually is the same day that we close our, 228th buy or bid sale, same day. But we're not going to talk about our buy or bid sale today, Mike. We're going to talk about Noble Numismatics. And so their ancient coins are kind of buried in their auction there because they've got thousands of lots, and so you kind of have to look for the ancients kind of stuck all the way starting at 2,444. And I thought the first few lots here were interesting for you kind of newbie collectors. So lots 2444 through 2458, those are all hectares. So this is, except for that one, that's Syracuse, but all the smaller hectares after that are very interesting. So Mike, if you want to just go back, there you go. So all those smaller coins after that, yeah, there you go. So there's Kizikis. We know that because it has the tunny fish, but there's some interesting ones here. They're not high quality. So some are off center like that one. And so it's a good opportunity to get something hopefully inexpensive in these small little fractions, which are made out of electrum, which is a gold and silver mix. It was once believed that this is the way that they came out of the ground when they were mining the gold with silver in it, but it's now more believed or more accepted that they were actually devaluing the gold by adding silver, which is far cry from what the rest of the what do you want to call it, the devaluation of currency during the Roman times when they started putting copper in and taking out the silver, and in the US currency where we had 90% silver and then completely eliminated silver. So here they're just devaluing the gold by adding silver. I believe that's the now understanding or acceptance at this point. I have heard a couple lectures done by the ANS on the subject of early electrum. But anyway, I wanted to talk a couple pieces in here. Lot number 2485, actually 2470. Sorry, you can go on the left there. There's like a search button there at the bottom on the left side, and you can actually put in the lot number. There you go. So lot 2470, a really interesting Hemera. This is out of Sicily. This is an earlier archaic type with a beautiful incuse, but just really, really fantastic dram of Hemera using the rooster, which the rooster probably represented, God or I believe they had some kind of revival or regeneration as a symbolism of the rooster. So, these.
I have to say, that is a really nice rooster.
It is. It is. It's a fantastic coin, actually. And these are one of these, like, sometimes you have to go through these auctions to look for the diamond in the rough. And here's the diamond in the rough for you. This is really a fantastic coin. It's up there in quality as one of the finer known chimeras in the market. And from what I can tell in coin archives. And so, it's, the Aussie dollar is much weaker than most other currencies. And so, you have the opportunity to maybe use that to your advantage in the exchange rate. But this is definitely something worth going after. The estimate, in my opinion, is quite low, so which is typical of auctions. And so you just may not, if you're going to go after a coin like that, you're going to have to go strong or go home. So moving on to lot 2485. Interesting coin. So this is a Siculo-punic Tetradrachm. A lot of cool iconography on here. So this is when Carthage had taken over and was minting through Sicily. So during that time period when the Carthage was kind of running the Greek world, sort of. And the horse was a symbol of Carthage, possibly because of the city's foundation. And because legend had it that it was recorded that the site was marked by a horse's head. The stallion rushing and its association with Nike are expressive of the Carthaginian war objectives. And then the tree represents Phoenicia, the original homeland of the Carthaginians. So, and then there's little writing on there, which is written in Punic language, and it says the camp, suggesting that this is an operation of the mint at the base of the Carthaginian army in Sicily. So these typically go for huge money. This one's not the highest quality one. It's probably one of the worst ones I've seen, but that means it's an opportunity for someone who can't afford to spend $25,000 to $40,000 on a fantastic one, to get one that's going to be inexpensive, that's still a very nice representative for the type, and meaning it has all its iconography and everything there. And so these are one of these coins where you have to give something up when you want to bid after a rarity.
Okay, so my impressions overall of the coin, not only a horse head, but I mean the entire front half of the horse.
Yeah.
You say it says the camp. I'm assuming that's on the side with the tree.
Yes.
And it looks to me like it's been repunched, like the lettering has been strengthened at some point. So it must be a really, really important part of this design.
Yeah, I think all elements of it are pretty important, but obviously them naming the military aspect of it is extremely important. But I've seen high grade ones, and when they're really high grade, they're really fantastic. And there really is any part of the iconography that isn't high grade or not looked after.
Makes sense.
So let's move on. So lot 2582, really cool coin. Very, very, very rare. This is a Boetian type of the city of, which I'm going to murder as normal, but it's Heleratos. This is a silver stater. And so the town, which is part of Boeotia, was a city, was part of the Boetian League. It was situated on the southern side of Lake Copias in a pass between the mountains and the lake. And so it's awesome because you have the trident that's kind of on the shield impressed there. You have the god on the reverse there. It even seems to have like a tang at the top. I'm not sure what was going on there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
It could have been just part of the planchet production at the time, and that it just didn't get cut off. Sometimes they made these planchets in sets that were connected by bars, and then they would have been shaved off and milled. Maybe this one just didn't get handled as such.
Fair enough.
So rare coin. not pretty, but rare. If you collect anything Boetian, this is a coin most people won't have. And I believe it also didn't have a pedigree as well. I can't see it in there now, but I'm pretty sure it did. It looks like it has. Whenever you see dark toned coins like this, they always have pedigrees. So they've been out of the ground for a long time.
Well, let's see. Triton Sale, Loy, 73.
Yeah.
55, 51.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm catching on to this whole thing.
There you go. There you go. So anyway, check out the Noble Numismatic auction, July 30th. You can also check out our buyer bid sale closing on July 30th too. But we won't talk about the coins. We'll just mention, and that's about as far as we'll go there. Okay, so Doofus Purchase. We had a lot of people emailed me or commented to me about this on Facebook, private email me, message me. It went on and on and on and on. And so it was this Trajan denarius with the Mars reverse that was in the Newman sale that brought equivalent to, I think it was around $3,800 hammer is about the equivalence. And they had it only estimated, I think, at $1 to 200 euros, something like that. And everybody said, this has got to be a Doofus Purchase. This is really, really grossly overpriced. And in general, they're right. But let's take a deeper dive into it and really see, because my first comment on Facebook was when somebody asked, was this important? No, the type is not important, but the portrait on the obverse is spectacular. And so we got to decide, and let's do that as a community, guys. Is this a Doofus Purchase or not? So, so Mike, if you want to go to the slideshow. Now, I talked about a while ago that when you're buying ancient coins, the advantage I have, starting my career in classical antiquities, is I got to study all of the sculpture. And so when you see the rendering of a portrait on a coin that looks like a Greek or Roman statue, you have something really special. And so here on the right, you have a bust here of Trajan, and there you have our coin, our supposedly Doofus Purchase on the left. And you can see just like how lifelike the portrait is and how realistic the features are. And so this was really a master artist that was creating this die. So if you go to the next slide, Mike, just some more portraitures. They actually do this thing now. I forget which, you guys can correct me. I think it's the Met or somebody. But they're doing these realistic AI portraits now of all the Roman emperors. It's pretty cool. And so, that's that realistic portrait at the top. And actually,
That's real.
Yeah, I saw one. Somebody sent me a video of all the Roman emperors, and they actually have them like in an AI simulation, all like blinking. It's really freaky. It's really freaky. So, so anyway, if you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit. Now, I didn't show any of these reverse types because these are all have more unique reverse types, and so that's going to also drive the price up on these coins. But these are all hammer prices in USD, so I converted them all. These are all just hammer. It does not include their buyer's fees, so you have to always add that in as the final cost. And you can see these, even though a lot of these had spectacular reverse types or unusual rare reverse types, they'll had fantastic bust types. And if you match our coin up to any of these bust types, yes, some are more fancy, but you can see it really does rival a lot of these great busts. And you can see the prices: 7,000, 6,500, 7,000, 5,250. And yes, it's apples and oranges in a way, but I'm really just talking about the portrait itself and how wonderful it is and how it stacks up to some of the great coins. If you go to the next slide, Mike, here we're getting into coins with just this type, just this reverse type. And you can see, yes, it's the most expensive coin of its type to sell at 3,800. But let's look at some of the other types that were right behind it. So the type below it, 1,000, 1,600, 950. And if you look at the portraits of all those, except for maybe the second highest one at 1,600, because it has that kind of detail in front of the bust underneath his face, which is called the geas. It's kind of like decoration for the military, I believe. It really does stack up as a very realistic portrait, and it does, as far as like that, looking for that type of statuesque portrait, it really is one of the best ones here. Really warrants it. If you go to the next slide, let's stack it up against Orei, some of the great Orei. And you can see again, look how realistic our portrait is on the silver denarius in compared to some of this Roman gold. It's much more lifelike and sensitive in the face than even some of the great Orei that have sold for huge money. Now, again, apples and oranges, right? But we're just talking about the iconography in itself. So, and now let's go to more typical, what you typically see. If you go to the next slide, this is what you typically see in the market that's going to sell for, $400 to $600, sometimes maybe up to 800, which is, there's gazillions of them. These are some of the better ones. But again, you can see how fantastic the portrait is in comparison to ones that sell in the average range and high quality. So you have to really start to think, is it too much money? You go to the last slide, Mike. Is it a doofus or is it a great purchase? So I think I'm going to leave that up to you all. I may have made an argument one way or the other. My thinking is it was still too much to pay for it, but for great art, sometimes people pay strong money, and it didn't take one person. It was maybe 2 or 3 people who thought that piece was worthy of the price that it brought.
Fair enough.
So, so I think this was a great example of a coin that is typical, but is of great quality. I mean, architecture, art, and so I think that it was worth, taking over and doing kind of a deep dive into it, one way or the other. So anyway,
there were several coins in there that I saw that I thought were of better quality. There were quite a few in there that I actually liked the purchase better.
Sure. I mean, the first slide, but you're talking about coins that sold for double and triple what this one sold for.
Yes.
So, but in comparison, yes, they were better, but the artwork wasn't that far off. It was pretty damn close. So, or comparable in some way. And so I think that, when deciding whether something is doofus or not, it really does sometimes comes down to the die cutter and how that die cutter produced that coin. And so, there are some coins that always look the same no matter what, because they were mass produced. But, every once in a while you get a die that, you're like, wow, that's really fantastic. And we don't know what this coin looked like in hand either. We're just doing it from the photograph. It might have been 10 times better in hand. A lot of times these coins are much better in hand than they are in the photo. There might be hues of toning that weren't picked up in the photography. That's why I like doing videos of all the coins, because the photo only tells one story about how the light reflected off that metal at the time of that photography shot. And so you can do a lot with photography, positively and negatively. And I find that most people prefer to hold the coin in their hand or see a video of it, because it really does show all its flaws or all its strengths at the same time. So, so we just had last week, in America, we had our 4th of July. celebration. And so I thought, kind of backtracking a little bit. I was thinking, does Rome have a kind of like celebration in Independence Day? And so I started looking it up, and there's actually there was an ancient Roman festival called
Festivus?
Nope, it was actually called Uprila. Wait, hold on a second. I always forget this part. Aprilia. It's Aprilia. So, an Aprilia was an ancient Roman festival of rural character performed annually on April 21st, aimed at cleansing both sheep and shepherds. So they were very much a farming community, raising animals, and a lot of these festivals were to bring animals or crop to market. Even in America, we have festivals that are going on today, but they're for other reasons, like Mardi Gras, and things like this, and other festivals.
We
in the
also
United
have the
States.
harvest festivals, and we have,
Sure. But a lot of it was to bring the farmers in from the countryside to bring their harvest in and have a big party,
Cool.
and to draw them in as well. And so the festival was it predates the founding of Rome in 753 BC, but then it started to change after the end of the Republic, and it became associated with the birthday of Rome. Numerous accounts of the founding of Rome exists, but the particular one related to Perea is described by Ovid as Fausti. So there you go. According to this myth, Romulus, upon reaching Rome on the day of Perea, I have so trouble pronouncing stuff. Aprilia. Thank you. Aprilia. He engraved a line in the ground that defined the boundaries of the new city. And then over time, the influence of several Roman rulers changed it. So Julius Caesar heard the news of Roman victory at Munda in 45 BC, and he added games to the ceremony. At these games, citizens would wear crowns in Caesar's honor. Caligula instituted into the celebration procession of priests, noblemen, boys, and girls of noble birth, singing of his virtues while escorting the golden shield previously bestowed upon him by the citizens of Rome. And then later, Hadrian founded a new temple of Venus in Rome and changed the festival's name to the Romea. And the temple was ruined later in the 9th century. So then I started thinking, well, let's get into the founders of Rome, or one of the myths of the founders of Rome. And so if you want to bring up the slideshow, Mike. And we talked just a second ago about it, but we have the legend of Romulus and Remus. And so there's kind of the myth. I'll read it real quick for you all. According to tradition, Rome was founded by Romulus and Remus in 753 BC. They were twin brothers, sons of a human mother and the god of war, Mars. After their birth, the king ordered them killed. They were placed in a basket and put in the Tiber River, left to die from exposure in outdoors. But their basket washed up on the riverbank, and they were found by a female wolf. The wolf nursed the hungry babies and cared for them until they were found by a shepherd. The shepherd and his wife raised the babies as their own. Romulus and Remus grew up and helped overthrow the king who had ordered their death. They wanted to build their own city along the Tiber River where their basket was washed ashore. They disagreed about where it should be, and Romulus killed Remus during the quarrels. Romulus built the city of Rome on one of the seven hills along the Tiber, the Palatine Hill, and lived a long life as king of Rome. And so this is the statue here is in Lupa. It's in Lupa Capitolina. It was said to be Etruscan, 5th century BC, the wolf anyway. and that the twins were added in the 15th century. It's now believed that maybe the wolf is not even ancient. It's possible. So, but you'll see it over and over and over on coins as the founders of Rome. And if you go to the first slide, Mike, down, you'll see here one of the most famous is these in the Roman Republic, and this is an anonymous diagram of Rome during 269-266 BC. And there you can see the twins being feeding underneath the wolf, and it says Rome underneath, Romano. And you have Hercules on the other, so you can see his club at his neck and the kind of the paw hanging down there. And so let's say anonymous because we don't know who minted these coins during this period. There's a lot of anonymous denariuses. This is a quadrigatus, which is a little bit larger. It's larger than a denarius coin. If you go to the next slide, here we have Domitian as Caesar. He minted this during 77-78 AD, and there you can see the elements of Romulus and Remus again under the wolf, and below the wolf you see the basket. That's the basket that the twins would have been in. So there's always this wonderful iconography that minters, die cutters will put into the engraving. Next slide, we have Hadrian, of course, and again, you can see here this was minted between 124 and 128 AD. And then if we go to the next slide, wonderful bronze coin of Antonius Pius, minted anywhere between his 138 to 161 AD. If you go to the next slide, sometimes you'll just see an element. So if you look on the reverse to the really small in the rocks, you can see
there's the wolf.
You can see the wolf with the two twins below. Sometimes they're just added as like, oh, here's the founders sitting down here in the corner.
Yep.
So
feeding, but not a feed bag.
No, yeah, exactly. So if we move on to later, we get into Philip Antoniniani, and then you can see there again. And you can find tons of, these are good quality coins. Some of these are inexpensive, but you can always find Romulus and Remus on a lot of different coins that are not expensive. If you go to the next coin, this is a rare coin of Crausius. It was either denarius or argentus because they were kind of flipping at that point. So this is a very rare coin of this type, but you can see how it continues into the 3rd century AD. And then if we get down to the next one, these are some of the most inexpensive coins you'll find. These are the commemorative series. These were actually minted by the city. They were city coins, not by necessarily by an emperor, but under Constantine the Great, most likely. And you'll find tons of these, and a lot of these you can buy for $100. They're not expensive. These are a little bit better quality, but again, you can find tons of these. You even have the iconography of the stars there above the wolf. So which of the stars are representing? You got the 2 stars probably representing both Romulus and Remus in the heavens. So, and if you go to the last slide, this is really late. Again, a coinage of Rome in the 6th century AD, and they were still here. And here it's interesting because at the bottom you have the 2 stars again, the 2 X's there. It might be control marks, but it may be the stars. And at the very top, you see a Cairo, which is the symbol for Christ. So it's interesting that they have Romulus and Remus, but they also have Christ represented with the Cairo at the top there. So really interesting. You're getting Christianity with mythology at the same time. So
I might argue you get a little bit of that today.
It's true. It's very, very true. It's very true. So anyway, I think that kind of felt very independent like of Rome for its independence, even though it's would have been in April and here we're in July. So
its independence is independence.
Wherever you are, it's your independence.
That's right.
So So this show, I decided that I wanted to pose a question to the community and kind of talk about it a little bit. And the question is slabbing a problem for the ancient coin industry? And most of you think I hate slabs. I don't hate slabs. I don't want them sold improperly. That's my biggest beef. And so there are some other beefs that need to be worked out over time. For instance, right now, I bought a coin out of a public auction. I sent it in NGC to have it slabbed. And it came back as undecided. And so it's those kinds of things that make it a problem, because NGC won't, at the moment, I'm talking to them, there might come out, they may say one way or the other, but I need them to say, is it bad or is it not bad? And the reason is okay, so if I decide to sell it, and then whoever buys it decides to submit it to NGC, and they get the same decision, or they decide differently and put fake. Now I look bad because I tried to sell a fake coin, and I'm in a pickle now because I would rather just return it to the auction house and be done with it if they can't, because otherwise I'm just, yes, I can guarantee it and I will sell it as a guaranteed ancient coin and I will always give the money back. But why should I play this game because somebody's unsure? So it's a quandary. It's a quandary. It's a tough one. And these are some of the difficult things that come up sometimes when you're based on a single opinion that really isn't backed by they don't even back it as far as monetarily speaking, but they can definitely create a lot of havoc with some of their comments or their actions. And so, but again, I have no problem against slabbing. Do I think it's been good for the industry? In some ways, yes, I think it's definitely been good for the industry. It's definitely driven prices up. That's for sure, because you have a lot of people who are buying raw gold and silver. We've talked about bronze coins not slabbing as well, so they're not pursued as hard as some of the gold and silver are, some of the more popular types. And so you get a lot of raw coins that used to typically sell at a certain level that have now doubled or tripled in price because there's so many people trying to buy them to put them into slabs to sell to the to the high end designated slab market, which again I think is it's good for the industry. You could also say that it's hurting the industry in some ways too, because if somebody buys their whole collection in slabs from somebody who is really trying to profit off that plastic instead of the coins, that person's going to overpay, and when they go to sell, they may lose quite a bit, and that may turn off a lot of people to collecting ancient coins because they didn't understand how to handle it to begin with. And so obviously whenever you're collecting anything, you should be really educated in what you're doing before you go out and spend thousands of dollars, even hundreds of dollars, because hundreds of dollars somebody might be a lot of money. So it all depends on what you're spending it on. But I've seen people who will put together, and we've showed them on the show, they'll put together, dealers will put together 12 Caesar sets in gold or silver and ask ridiculous amounts of money for them. And part of it is laziness on the collector's part, because they don't want to sit there and build a set one by one. They just want it to be done. And so you're going to pay a huge premium for that, because the dealer who put it together spent a lot of time and a lot of money doing it. And so they want to be rewarded for that. But at the same time, there's a price for raw and there's a price for slab. And the slab is far greater than the raw levels. And so if somebody, and I've seen somebody spend $500,000 on a gold 12 Caesar set in slabs, and the set's only worth 300,000. And so when they go to sell it, maybe they get lucky and they get their money out, but I would think that those types of people who have that kind of money to spend, they're doing it more for a investment standpoint, which again, I think is wrong. You shouldn't buy ancient coins as investment. You should do it for the love of numismatics. And if you make money off of it down the road, great. If you
do it because it's fun.
Do it because it's fun. Because nobody in the coin industry can say that, people ask me, is this a good investment? And I say, well, I'm not an investment guy. I'm a numismatist. And so if I was if investment guy, I'd be selling something else. And so, or I'd be a telemarketer. And so I'm neither. So I need to be honest with collectors and say, buy because you like it. I'm going to sell these things to you at market, but I have no control over the market. And so if the market changes, that's not my fault. And I'm not going to then, take your coins back and try to make you a ton of money if the market doesn't support it. If the market supports it, great. And a lot of collectors have done well because the market's been very strong for a long time. But ultimately, I think that it's better to do it for the love of it. And ultimately, if you make money or break even, then great. So I think slabbing has a lot, farther to go. I think that a lot of the people who are making huge money off the slabs, I think something of that is starting to even out because people have been satisfied or they've realized they've lost a lot of money because they've overpaid or they're satisfied. And so I think that ultimately, slabs will continue to change. And I'm actually, just because I'm willing to change as well, is I'll probably start selling some ancient coin slabs, but on a different website, but at reasonable or realistic prices, only because I've had a lot of collectors come to me and they want only slab coins, but I don't want it to be mixed in with my regular raw stuff. And so I might create a separate website just for some slabs, but selling them at respectable prices, not gouging prices. They will be more because it just cost me more to slab them, but it's going to be more for some newbies. And so again,
the premium will be reflective more of what value the slab actually adds.
Correct. And so so even I can as I'm I run a business, and so it would be silly of me not to satisfy the growing number of people who want slab coins. And so, but it doesn't mean I'm going to mix it with my regular stock.
And you're still going to try to educate people as to what the dangers of them are.
Absolutely. And so so it's like and guys, don't freak out. It's not like I'm going to start slabbing all my coins. I'm not. I'm just gonna, because again, I've seen the pitfalls of slabbing and what it can do to a dealer. I don't want to be stuck just selling gold and silver popular types like Heritage has to do. I want to sell everything. I want to sell provincial coins. I want to sell every kind of rare coin that wouldn't slab up well, but only because those there's some rarities that always come porous. And so do I want to worry about whether they're going to put a 1 out of 5 for surface on a coin that doesn't matter because they all come that way? So again, it's more to satisfy another market or a growing market. And but to do it properly, which this whole podcast is built to grow the market and to educate. And so if I'm not educating the public in slabs as well by selling them myself on some level, then I'm not doing a justice to the industry, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think kind of you're also bringing the mountain to Muhammad a little bit.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and I also want to, I don't understand how they slab some of the coins and how they come up with some of the grades. So I kind of want to learn why they grade the way they grade. It's so subjective, but I want to know why they think something's brushed. I don't get that. I think it's one of the silliest comments they could ever put on a slab. I think
It's like saying cleaned.
Yeah, it's
on an ancient coin. It's,
if you want to downgrade a lot of times they downgrade the silver, the surface, but they don't say why. And then, and some of it's obvious, some of it's not. And so why would you, if you feel like it's been scrubbed hard, just downgrade downgrade it a little bit. You don't have to give
or
these
find
negative.
a way to describe it as scrubbed.
Yeah, I don't scrub brush. They all sound bad.
Right.
So but if I can't see it with the naked eye, then why are you describing it that way? It just, to me, and maybe they can give me an argument the other direction, but I want to learn more about why it is the way that they do what they do. And the only way I'm going to do that is through trial and error myself. And so everything is a learning experience with this industry. And so I've got to put my money where my mouth is too.
Fair enough.
So anyway, episode 48 in the bag, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting this together. I love this new layout. It's very cool. You guys, I hope you guys like it too. Please let us know if you enjoyed our
leave
layout.
a comment, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff.
Thanks.
It's we enjoy doing this. So as we get out of here, as always, we'd like to thank all the people that make this possible, all the people that have worked to do this, and most importantly, to you who listened. So thanks for being with us. And you got anything else for him, Aaron?
Nope. I'm going to be going on vacation for a couple weeks, and then I'll be back for another episode.
All right. So we will talk to you next time on the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.
And we're out.